Welcome to my project, OSINT Cloud. It's a personal challenge project as part of Hex 3 in 2022, looking into data security and privacy. The project I've decided to do is an OSINT tool. It's a custom developed tool using PowerShell. The idea behind the tool, or the goal, is to look at Microsoft 365 services, Azure Cloud Services, and Azure Active Directory. I want to try to gain some information about what's been configured and possible areas of which we can defend or attack. System administrators often leave or have misconfigured environments. Things like service accounts that are left dormant on-prem, as well as user accounts given too many permissions. So using these techniques, I'm going to try to gather information from Office 365 and Azure, then move into an authenticated scenario where I can actually grab information from Azure Active Directory to try to work out what may be misconfigured in the environment. The significant challenges I faced as I did this, one was around security. The Microsoft 365 environment is very secure, and I attempted to perform enumeration using SMTP, use the same techniques we use in the lab with Nmap and Telnet. Both of these failed. Next, I moved on to enumeration using DNS. Now, Office 365 and Azure provide a number of services out to the world via DNS. So if I can find those services, that'll enumerate endpoints which we either have to protect or we can attack against. The next major challenge I had was around PowerShell. There was two sets of modules that I was able to use: Azure Active Directory PowerShell module and the Microsoft Graph API. Both of these modules use different versions of PowerShell and they're incompatible with each other. Originally, I tried using PowerShell 7, which meant I used the Graph API. However, I found that it didn't have all the functionality in it straight away, and I was going to rely on me going back to full API code to try to make it work. Switched back to the Azure Active Directory modules, made it a little bit simpler, and was able to grab the information out that I needed. So to get started with this, what we'll do first of all is set up the environment. So the first thing I need to do is I need to use Microsoft PowerShell version 5. So new Windows VM, install PowerShell onto it. I can check the table to see the version information is there, make sure that's correct. Then run the first of 3 scripts that I've created, which is the first one is set up a PowerShell module. This will download the modules required, install them, and get the environment ready to run. Okay, so now we've got the environment set up. The next part to start looking through is running the first script. So the first script is find Azure AD int. So this script, as you can see on the screen, it's all written in PowerShell. There is inbuilt help into the function as well. So as we go through the function, we can run the get help command to get all the information we need to go. It'll show us what we need to do. Now there are 3 options. There's the domain name, which is the name we're going to search for. Then we have a word list, which it will generate. Now the word list I've actually already pre-generated with a whole heap of standard common portal type names. The next one is use DNS flag. So it's a use Google DNS flag. It allows you to use either Google or Cloudflare for the DNS provider. Once you've done that, you basically have to hit fire on it, enter the domain name, hit true. It'll go off and scan, and as you're going through, you'll see a whole heap of information pop on the screen. You can output this to a standard output file if you want, and at the end, what it'll do is it'll list where it's found stuff. So you can see this test demo, the tenant that I've got here, it's found an Azure Blob Storage account, which is usually an SMB or a blob storage. It's found remote desktop through an Azure App Proxy, and that's a published internal site coming through. And it's also found a CRM portal, a Dynamics CRM portal. So there's a couple of definite endpoints there we can look at. Okay, the next one we're going to use is the one for internal. So this is one that requires authentication. So it's called it find Azure AD information. So what we're looking for here is service accounts, global administrators that have got access on the environments. Sometimes you'll see people put service principal accounts in global administrators, which means an application has access to the entire environment as well. So as I go through the scans, you'll see standard help files is provided. You will have to log in, so as you go through, it'll pop up a dialog box. Just be careful because that'll be hidden behind, so you'll have to actually make sure you click on that to go through. Once the script is running, It will go through and enumerate a number of services and show you all those ones. It'll show you your service accounts. It'll also generate a whole heap of JSON files in the directories for you with all the information you want in there. It'll capture all of the service principal accounts. Now, these are the service accounts. And this is a common area where conditional access may not be applied, so we can come back in using a service principal account if we needed to. Okay, it also shows you the domains that are there, that are listed against it, and provides some stuff in reflections. Really interesting time learning DNS over HTTP. It's a new standard that's going to be happening across the world because we can use TLS across it. It's using 443 as a DNS. It can get through pretty much any proxy server, not get bound by a localized DNS server. Have published all this up on GitHub so people will be able to download the tools as they need to. Okay, so that is my project. OSINT discovery tools against Azure AD, Office 365 and Azure.